Last year, I spent 6 months backpacking through Central and South America, and since getting back, I have gotten so many questions asking how I did it. So in this video, I will be walking you through how I prepared, how I budgeted, and what I'm going to be doing differently for my next trip, to show you guys that you can travel the world even while making minimum wage. So before I started traveling, I was living on my own in Boston, and I was working as a waitress and as a barista. And I spent about 7 months saving up for this trip. The amount I put into savings varied each month just because my tips were constantly fluctuating, but I tried to make an effort for, by the end of every month, I wanted to put at least $50 to $100 into savings. So along with my savings that I had from my paychecks and tips, I also got my security deposit back from my apartment, and I also got a credit card deposit back while I was traveling. And my birthday coincided with when I was traveling, so that was about $1,500 total that I got from those three things. So I'm just gonna add that to like the total amount I had saved because I was kind of prepping for these, and they kind of hit throughout like 3 different spots in my traveling. So in total, I had about 4,000 to 4.5K saved up for this trip. Unfortunately, I didn't really get into the habit of tracking my finances and like categorizing my spending until after I came back from my trip, but I do have some kind of vague inclination on weekly spending. So the categories lowest to highest in terms of weekly spending goes accommodation, transportation, excursions and drinking, and food. Starting with the least expensive, and the main reason why I was able to travel so long, is accommodation. I was doing work exchanges while I was traveling, so I really didn't pay for any of my accommodations, only twice when I went to do things kind of like on my own, but that was very minimal. So I was working mainly as a receptionist in different hostels, and I even ended up working at a cacao and turmeric farm. So I personally used an app called Worldpackers, but there are a whole bunch of other sites and Facebook groups that you can go to. There's Workaway, I know there's like a housesitters.com that a couple of my friends were using. I used Worldpackers because it was super user-friendly. I paid, I think, like $100 for a year-long subscription. So through the app, all of the people who are hosting these volunteer experiences are vetted by the company and go through background check, and they make sure that the volunteer space is hospitable for volunteers to come and stay. And it also gives you the ability to read reviews left by volunteers who had stayed in this experience. And not only that, but you can actually message them directly in the app to see kind of what their experience was. They also have an insurance policy in case a stay does go wrong, so they'll reimburse you to stay at a hostel nearby, as well as help get you to your next volunteering if you are interested in getting another one, which is super helpful, and it just made me feel really safe while I was traveling. This is not at all sponsored, but I would not be opposed if Worldpackers does want to reach out to me. It was just an app that I really like to use. So yeah, this is definitely something that I'm going to be doing again for this next trip that I'm planning for the next year coming up. While traveling, accommodation can easily be anywhere from $20 to about $200 a week, depending where you are and what hostel you're staying in. And again, this is just hostel prices, so it's not even accounting for if you were staying in an actual hotel or like an Airbnb. And I know that it doesn't sound super glamorous, but honestly, if you are on a tight budget, it's a great way to start traveling and be able to have more access and be able to stay in places for longer. And not only is it a great experience, something really cool that you can put on your resume, and a way to meet people, it's also a way to travel really consciously. That way you are also giving back to the communities that you are traveling to and experiencing, because you're helping small businesses, which is super duper cool. So next is transportation. Now, the most expensive thing in this category for me is going to be the couple of flights that I took throughout this trip. I did use Google Flights though, which helped me pinpoint the lowest flight price because I was buying one-way tickets. I also made sure that my backpack that I was using fit as a carry-on to avoid extra fees to check-in luggage. And it's honestly just a whole lot safer because your stuff doesn't get stolen or it doesn't get lost or misplaced. So it just made me feel more secure to like be able to have my stuff on me all the time. Now, the easiest way to save money in this category is to walk, 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 walk. I walked so much while traveling. Now, obviously use Uber when you are in an unsafe area or, you know, if you're going out so that you can stay safe. But I do recommend either walking or honestly getting used to the public transportation, like the bus system or the train system, depending on where you are, because not only will you get to know the area better because you're walking around and because you're taking the transit system, but again, it's also just a whole lot cheaper and better for the environment. Something that I'm going to be doing a whole lot more this trip is trying to find other ways to travel that isn't through the air, because it is a whole lot cheaper. I gained confidence enough to take this 19-hour bus ride from Panama to Costa Rica, so now I definitely feel a bit more secure in my ability to handle such a long bus ride, but I'm definitely going to be looking into bus and trains instead of airfare because although it takes more time, you save hundreds of dollars while doing it, so I feel like it kind of outweighs the other, where it's like, yeah, you're spending a whole day traveling anyway, so you might as well save the extra money, you know what I mean? So on a weekly basis, I was spending about $20, if that, on transportation, but my flights did cost anywhere from $70 to $200, but I only took, I think, 3 or 4 flights the whole time I was traveling, so it kind of like balances out over the long run. Also, important note, when you are traveling and you are only buying one-way tickets like I was doing, always, 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 always make sure that you have enough money to get home because your money will go quickly, especially if you are not having a source of income while you are traveling like I was. And I got scarily close to not having enough money to make it back to the US, but luckily I did check my bank account and I made the necessary arrangements to get home when I needed to. But do keep that in mind and do keep really good track of your finances. So next is drinking and excursions. Now my weekly drinking spending was certainly higher than other things on a weekly basis because I do like to go out, I do like a good party, and you know, the price of alcohol is just kind of expensive. So in the beginning, I was really trying to stick to my vodka tonics because I love them and they're low calorie. However, the price of vodka tonics is still expensive no matter where you go. So I very quickly learned to switch over to beer because it is so much cheaper, especially because like I was finding it for like pennies in certain countries. And you know, when I was craving something a little bit stronger, I switched to kind of pre-gaming before going out instead of like spending that money when you're out, which is just kind of like, I feel like a broke person practice in the US anyways. So I'm going to guess that I spent anywhere from $20 to like, I think the most at any given point was maybe like $150 a week, and I think that's really pushing it, but just to kind of give myself wider margins and also kind of lumping in the price of getting into different clubs, I would say is about that, but maybe not even within that range. Honestly though, I'm more of a gardener myself, and I'm kind of mad because that's usually how I save money when I'm in the US, is I kind of like to go garden before I head out. But you know, a lot of countries are anti-gardener, and that's really unfortunate, and I wish they would change their minds. But that's neither here nor there, and I can't change that. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be sticking to beer and pre-gaming when I go traveling again. And also, it's just really cool to be able to try the local beers of different countries that you go to, because they all have like a distinct taste and kind of like, I don't know, it's cool. It's like, I don't know, like collecting stamps is like trying all the local beers. Excursions cost me about the same amount weekly as it did drinking, mainly because I found a lot to do for free. You know, you can look at different tours and look at the places that they go to, and you can honestly just go there by yourself. A lot of the times, the tour groups will still be walking around and you'll have like your own ticket, and you can kind of walk near them and still hear the tour. And they don't care, they don't really mind. As long as you're not being rude about it and being like blatantly following them. But you can find a lot of things to go to for free. So I went hiking, I went to rivers, I went to hot springs, all which were free. A lot of the hostels that I was volunteering at as well also had a discount for different tours and different activities. So usually it was like, instead of paying kind of like the fee that the hostel would charge, I would only pay what we were giving to the tour company, which was honestly so helpful because it helped me save so much money. So instead of paying like $120 for a tour, I paid like $50. You know, there was also still stuff that like I was paying full price for, so that's kind of why I kind of like evened out throughout like the whole trip. Something that I'm excited for this trip is just being able to do more stuff because I am saving more. I also think I was really hesitant to kind of spend money to go do stuff. Also because I had a fear for a while of just doing stuff on my own, but now I don't really have that fear, so I'll be doing a whole lot more. And lastly, we have the category of food, which for me was the most expensive. I was spending anywhere from $50 to like maybe $200 on food a week, depending where I was. You know, now that I'm saying this and like realizing the amount of money that I had, I feel like I'm messing up these numbers. But again, these are just kind of vague approximations that fluctuated throughout my trip. I don't have the actual numbers. This is a wide range that I'm using here. The fact that food is the most expensive category is honestly really, really good. It's kind of where you want it to be. Maybe excursions can be higher, but depends how many you do and what you're doing. I am honestly really proud of this. So firstly, because I was in a hostel environment for the most part, I was cooking a lot of my meals because I had access to a kitchen and a fridge to keep all of my stuff. Something that I kind of regret doing, but not so much, is buying a whole lot of healthy foods and a lot of meats and stuff. You know, I know that at the time I wanted to lose weight while I was traveling and to make sure that I wasn't starving myself and eating healthy to be able to lose weight, but that ended up costing a whole lot more just because, you know, chicken and beef is going to be a lot more expensive than just like getting like ham and cheese and like bread and stuff. So I think for this next trip, I am really going to be penny pinching to the most. I'm going to try to see if I can stretch my money even further when it comes to food and, you know, kind of getting cheaper things instead of going for these elaborate meals. You know, I need to look at recipes that are filling and nutritious, but also are cost friendly. So this is also counting the fact that I was eating out a decent amount. Costa Rica was definitely more expensive than say like Mexico, where the street food was honestly cheaper than actually going out to like buy groceries and make them. So like on a meal basis, like I could go get tacos for like, I think they were like 5 pesos each, which like isn't even $1. So it's like you'd get like 3 tacos, which is one meal, for like $1, which is like nuts, right? So it's also just kind of like knowing the area and knowing what is more cost effective. So this time around, I just want to be more mindful of kind of how I'm spending my money because, you know, I want to experience the food and the culture, but I also want to make sure that I have not only the longevity of this next trip, but also I won't be as anxious about spending money on excursions or things. So that was kind of just like my budget breakdown for like my last trip and how I plan on adjusting my budget for the next time I go travel. So while I was traveling, I had only one credit card, and what I was kind of doing was using that as much as I could and then slowly paying it off. And I think I started at like $100 a week and then fluctuated depending on how much I was spending. And then towards the end, because I was truly running out of money, I think I was paying like $20 a week or whatever like the minimum monthly payment was, because I was just running out of funds and I was running dry. Something that I'm changing for this trip is, one, I have another credit card, but two, this new credit card doesn't have international fees, because international fees and the fee that you get when you take money out of an ATM will slowly rack up. I think in total, the international fees that I paid were probably like $100 to like $200 over the course of the whole trip, which is a whole lot. Like $100, $200 could have given me a whole other week or two in a different country. So the fact that I have this new credit card really opens up a whole bunch for me because I won't have that extra fee. Two, something that I'm going to be doing a little bit better is understanding what the payment system is like in the different places that I visit, because sometimes I would take out cash when I really didn't need to. So if I don't need to take out cash, trying to resist kind of like doing that. But when I do take out the cash, taking out a larger sum. That way you are hit with less fees overall, because sometimes you are going to need to take out cash and that is that. But I don't want to be hit with those fees constantly. Also, honestly, just finding, like, you can do a quick Google search to see what bank in the area has the lowest like ATM fee, but I don't really recommend doing those currency exchanges, especially not at the airport, because they are going to rip you off and they're going to take a percentage, and it's going to be a whole lot more than the ATM fee. So honestly, just go to an ATM and take out some cash. You can go to, if you're using hostels and stuff, you can go to the hostel and ask people around, because they will probably know. So they can kind of like show you where to get money and stuff, and it's a whole lot cheaper. And yeah, just a better practice. Okay guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope that it was helpful in showing that you don't need a whole bunch of money to go traveling. You know, I had the goal of going away for 6 months. I was going until my money ran out, but you could start traveling by just going for a week or two, or like even going for like a month. And I don't want you to think that just because you are working a minimum wage job or because you don't have a big savings account that you can't go and experience different countries and different things, because you totally can. You just have to be a little bit more creative about how you go about finding these experiences, but they are out there for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, I wouldn't mind if you liked and subscribed. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you get notified every single time that I post, because I will literally love you forever. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! That was so gross. I don't know why I did that. Where's my phone? Shut up. Okay. Oh, it's okay. Shush.